Hi, and thanks for joining the S.J. Child Show. The S.J. Child Show brings value to families through education and resources. But the S.J. Child Show isn't just about me, it's about us as a community. Join me as we help educate and support our community, help bring kindness and love and inclusion to all. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch. I really appreciate all the support from all of the viewers and listeners, and I just want to let you know I want you to join me on this journey. Come and follow my social media, and let's do this together. Enjoy the show. Introducing Autism Vehicle Home Safety Kits, Emergency Responder, alert stickers, personal profiles with autism needs and a communication board, masks and earplugs, keeping families and emergency responders educated and safe. Get yours today at sjchilds.org. Helping autism families impact their child's developmental milestones through home relocation, community resources, and home designs. For every 3 homes Natalie Castro sells, she funds and designs a sensory room for a community center servicing individuals with autism. She volunteers to coach law enforcement, first responders, and ER nurses how to have a positive experience for individuals on the autism spectrum. Hi, and welcome to the S.J. Child Show. I'm your host, S.J. Childs, and I'm so happy today to have some brothers, siblings. We're going to talk about autism. We're going to talk about transitioning, and we're going to talk about a documentary that's going to be coming up. So really exciting stuff to listen and to our viewers today. So welcome the Sharif brothers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It feels so great. And when I got in contact with you, you asked me about having a sibling, and I thrived tirelessly to have something huge like this. And boy, this is going to be absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here, David and Ben. And we're just going to jump right in and get to all of the good stuff. So tell us where it all started. Tell us about yourselves. I'll let you decide.
Ben, you go. B&D.
Okay. So David and I are born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I am the older sibling of the two. David is 4 years and 3/4 to the date younger than me. I'm August 28th. He's May 28th. And yeah, that's where it all started. And now both of us happen to live about half an hour from each other. And we're based in New York City. David is in Ridgewood, Queens. I'm in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah. So
quite a distance from LA, huh?
Yeah.
Culture shocks. No, I don't know. You're probably used to it being there with a lot of different people.
Well, that's the thing. New York was a place that we would visit frequently growing up. My paternal grandparents and aunts, maternal grandparents and aunts live here and have lived here in Manhattan, I should say, for our entire lives. So we would visit at least once, twice a year growing up, and that certainly familiarized ourselves with the city, especially given that it's very different from Los Angeles. And I don't want to speak for David, but I think it's on these visits yearly that David fell in love with this place.
That's what I was just going to say. Somebody fell in love when he was visiting, and that's wonderful.
Oh, I fell in love with it right when I was just looking out the window of my grandparents' residence, just looking at the Empire State Building, even the Chrysler Building, which is very sadly blocked because of another building being constructed over covering. But thankfully, I can see the clock tower. And when I look on the other side, I can see the Freedom Tower. And my favorite thing was just riding subway trains all around the city with my dad. I love railways. And anytime I stared into space or got distracted, one thing I was capable of thinking about was trains, planes, and any kind of uh, transportation. And quite frankly, the day before, the day after our parents were married, Grandma and Grandpa moved into the residence they live to this day. And sadly, it's only Grandma right now because unbelievable, just next month will be 5 years without Grandpa. I just can't even think about it right now. But this is something to absolutely dedicate to the man that we loved so dearly, and it just goes beyond words when I just think about my ways of traveling, such and such.
I love that, David. I was going to ask, but you answered everything. Like what was that passion that you had for the city and for the buildings? But it sounds like really the transportation was the main kind of passion that drew you to that. And I think that that's so fascinating. It's such a great experience and many wonderful opportunities that you've received that so many of my children have never been on a New York City subway or train or anything. So many different experiences that you've been so lucky to have been given, huh?
But more beyond that aspect, our grandmother was born in the Bronx, very close to the Bronx Zoo, I believe.
I've been there.
And our grandpa was, and thanks to being married to a wonderful grandmother, our grandpa was a Yankees fan. But on the brighter side of things, Grandpa made New York City a home for me, and I made New York City a home for myself, and it still is to this moment. And if I can't live in the city, I would just try and live somewhere in New Jersey where I can just see the whole kind of Manhattan from my sights.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Let's kind of journey back into childhood. And when you were growing up, 4 years is a pretty good 4 years and 3/4 to the date is a pretty good estimate. That's funny too, because my kids are 21 months apart. And so the same thing, one's on the 7th and one's on the 28th as well of December. And so, yeah, they're just 21 months. So just barely almost 2 years. It's funny how that works, isn't it? But when you were growing up and you were going to school, talk to us about kind of the support that you got from your school and from your family, those types of things, David.
That we can happily do, but I think I forgot to introduce myself.
Oh, you should definitely do that.
Okay. So I am David Sharif, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4, now a Magna cum laude graduate of Pace University with a degree in political science and peace and justice studies, motivational speaker, community moderator, and neurodiverse mentor, serving the world of autism.
Great introduction, like spectacular.
All right, can we repeat the question again?
Absolutely. So when you were growing up in Los Angeles, maybe middle school, junior high type period, tell us about the support that you received from your family and maybe even from school. Was it positive experiences or did you find more troubling times then?
Can it also be briefly out of school? Or
100%. Yeah, we were going to get to that next too. So whatever you'd like.
Well, I'll just do one at a time.
Okay.
To start it off, I fulfilled my general education at the Health Group, a large nonprofit based in the LA area that serves multiple disciplinary schools around Los Angeles, serving students with autism, learning differences. There are about 8 to 10 of those schools, and every school has their own curriculum. I attended Village Glen West in Culver City. Primary school was fun, sweet, enjoyable, and all the learning material was just absolutely amazing. But then when secondary education came, it got kind of serious and unbelievably not disappointing, but just hard to find answers to it. I believe that I had mentioned before when we met, when I started middle school, I was not being challenged the way I wanted, which means I was not on the diploma program, which is where I would be qualified to graduate high school and future my education at a higher level. After 7th grade, I got very serious about it. Well, during 7th grade, I wasn't opposed to it because I had bar mitzvah preparation. But back on topic, when I started 8th grade, I was back in that program again. But then towards the end of 2010 or before winter vacation, I climbed out of it and transitioned to the diploma track, where I was challenged better. I took my courses, I got good grades, and then high school came, academically challenging, but nonetheless a great experience with wonderful teachers and mentors. Throughout my education at the Health Group, I had a speech pathologist and a marriage and behavioral therapist I could meet with weekly, one time individually, and then in group. And then in the classroom, there was at least one teacher assistant. Well, actually, every classroom was required to have one teacher assistant. But then in high school, outside of academics, it started to get very serious, and I was so amped. Right from the get-go of high school, I told the teachers my dream is to go to college in New York City. I kept it in my DNA ever since I said that. And then things started to fall down, and I kind of expected that. It was started with a group of twin brothers and some other students 2 or 3 years older than me, just thinking that I'm in over my head. I'm out of my mind. I'm crazy. It's like they say, I don't even know what I'm talking about. And nobody from the school that I went to has ever gone to college out of state, nor to a university out of state. And I'm like, I don't even care what that means. But then
blazing your own trail, aren't you?
And actually, that's exactly what I was awarded with at senior year of high school. But going back, the biggest upset was getting berated about my post-high school plans, my adventures out of school, not just my normal family. Before the summer before high school, I found a second family, and that was my camp family. To have an extra family who is there for you out of the supports of the normal one just goes unmatched. And every time I wanted to share something that inspired me, I constantly got interrupted. If I wanted to share an experience that I went through, people continued to interrupt me. It was for some undefined reason. And quite frankly, as time went on, I found out that I was around students who were not able to have the same kind of experiences that I've had. I acknowledge it, and I am aware of those things. And I tell people, I understand that it's hard for you to not have the same kind of journeys that or times that I have. But if you want me to respect your journeys and your plans, you learn to respect mine. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why I did not respect theirs, because they did not respect mine. It's like plain simple and straight to the point. If I wanted to share my opinion about a film, and then it's like I would want to say, oh, why this movie such and such, the person just scolded like this one reason, and I never had a chance to say anything. And I have a lot of proof that I like plenty of movies, and specifically great ones that don't take place in New York City. Other than The Incredibles, Interstellar is one of them. In love with that movie. And if I can think of another good one, I guess not. I will probably not pop it out. But in secondary education, my interactions with other students really kind of didn't go the way I was hoping to.
Yeah.
And to just have people who were there for me outside of the place is everything. And it's just a sweet gift that when I went to camp outside of the school year, which I was also mistreated about, I did find my long life best friend Sampha, and also found another family who would be there for me on my autism journey. And I would constantly tell them what's happening to me and the hope that I give for them to not go through the same kind of frustration that happened to me. They were there for me when I needed them. And that's all that matters in any way, shape, or form. I had photos of them on my locker in my school binder. Some students just looked at it, shook their heads. Some students gave me very weird looks because of how I'm bringing back the memories of the people I miss very much. And then some people laughed at me because I do miss those people. And apparently, sometimes my therapist or my teachers got annoyed when I say this, but I do say it in a fair and straight way. My school friends are the good ones, but my camp friends are the great ones. That has been true ever since I found my camp family, and it still is to this day. So it's just that kind of support that I have goes wonderfully well. So just a brief backtrack. Primary education was a lot of fun, great learning material, sometimes easy to understand, sometimes hard to interact, but make great friends. Secondary education was more serious and pretty severe until I felt accustomed to the heavy workload. But then the interactions fell down the way that I didn't want it to be. But then what did I do? The ones who told me that whatever I chose, blazing new trails, going to college in NYC and my adventures, that it would never amount to anything for me, I will tell you, I made them pay the ultimate price because I am the first student from my school to go to a prestigious university out of state. In addition, I was valedictorian for my high school graduating class. And then 4 years later, I became a college graduate with honors from a wonderful institution that I will talk about very briefly. So this is exactly why I warn people, be mindful about what you say, because if I hear one skeptical remark out of your mouth, you are going to be in a lot of trouble and you're going to clench your fists by the time you're proven wrong. So my advice is try and be careful, but also think about what you've done earlier and maybe review your history of what you have done to me and others, and that will give you a better idea of how you can possibly change yourselves for the better. So that's
Good
the big
advice.
that's just the big point.
I like that.
And honestly, I don't care for them. I don't intend to chat with them or be with them or talk to them in the future. And even if they try to impose me to, that won't do any good. And the thing is, I do not hold on to grudges. What I do is, even if you may want to speak to me, but if I choose not to, that doesn't mean I'm carrying the past. I am choosing what I believe is safe for me and what I think I will do my best with. And that is not chatting with the ones who have doubted me, even
No.
if they have changed as well.
You have to stand up for yourself. I like that you have that confidence to be able to do that, because that is so important to do.
Yeah.
When you guys were growing up, Ben, what was it like for you? I want to hear your side too, and kind of see what struggles or joys or celebrations you had with your brother. So take us back to kind of when you guys were in this, were you guys ever at the same schools, the kind of time periods?
No, we did not attend the same schools. Part of it was the age gap, but also I went to my parents felt that the going to Village Glen was a better suit for David than the school that I had gone to.
Sure.
Growing up with David, David is my only sibling, so I don't really have any other experiences to compare it to.
Sure.
But at the same time, I will say I've always felt a sense of protection over him, and wanting to be someone who is there for him. Granted, he would say that I was not there for him when I decided to go to college in New York City, and he left him alone in LA. But even before that, I think that we've always been pretty close. Wouldn't you agree, David?
Yes, and remember that when you began freshman year, I would just try and phone call you every day after school.
I love that.
Yeah. No, he missed his buddy to talk to and person to hang out with, and the safety net from our parents who bicker, as most parents do, I should say. They're
I have to tell you something funny about that, because you said that the other day when we were talking about him being excited to move out of the house because your parents were bickering, and I was in the other room. My husband and I were laughing because we're laughers. That's all. We're just laughing all the time. We just make each other laugh all the time. And so I went out and asked my daughter, what are you going to say when you grow up? Are you going to say, do you think we bicker a lot? Do you think we laugh a lot? And she was like, oh my gosh, you guys never fight. I've never heard you fight. Like, you guys are always laughing. And so I just thought that was such an interesting, I had to ask, and I had to use that example and compare. So that's interesting. I love your mom. Funny. She was great. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah. Laughter is incredible. I think growing up in a household full of laughter in my mind would be amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Would have been for me too. I completely agree. I'm setting a new precedence for my family now than for what I had as well. So agree.
Exactly. And I think that's incredible.
Why not? Right? When we know better, we can do better.
Right. And that's not the bad. I think David and I are blessed with two of the most incredible parents.
Very supportive.
Extremely supportive, incredibly nurturing, who have, who are often united. Even though they may disagree on an approach to a certain thing, they're in general very united, particularly on the values with which they raised us. we're privileged, David and I, to have grown up in a family that loves to travel, and has had the resources to be able to travel. David and I have each been to over 40 countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It and a handful of states. So we're very fortunate in that we love that. It's been a part of our life, and it's at times been a struggle. And I think David can speak to that, and how traveling as an autistic individual has shaped his experience and outlook on life. But it's certainly been wonderful, and a form of education that I think is unparalleled, really, to experience life and see life in other cultures and how other people live it. I think it's so important, and so I feel really grateful to have grown up with that. And I think traveling together has also brought David and I closer, as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
David, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yeah. I've been traveling since I was 2 months old.
Oh my
It
goodness.
is the gift of my life. There is no other kind of life that I'd rather live than being a world traveler and giving talks about autism
I love that.
all over the world.
What's your
even with
favorite
the
country?
bit of
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just excited.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite country you've ever been to?
Well, I will answer that in the question, even with a bit of jaunting. Before I get into my favorite country, what has traveling taught me? And I have been through many of them. It has been flight delays, language barriers, communication differences, and other things that generally don't happen in our country. And even cultural practices, which can be new and a bit nerve-wracking and misunderstood when you learn for the first time.
A lot of adapting, it sounds like you had to do. Yeah.
A great deal of adaptation. And travel requires a lot of flexibility. It can be stressful, it can be fun, but the big thing that is needed for travel is flexibility, patience, survival, and understanding that things happen unexpectedly with or without a reason. To answer your question, of all the places I've been to, it would have to be Barcelona, Spain.
Ooh.
The reason is I took Spanish 3 years in high school. And thanks to my high school Spanish teacher, she wrote an amazing letter of rec, and she traveled around Spain before senior year. And she kind of gave me the idea to continue taking Spanish in college. And I did Spanish my entire sophomore year. And then that led me to, doing a semester abroad in Barcelona,
Wow.
which is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Really,
and
though.
boy, my family was beyond jealous, and I couldn't stop laughing at that.
That's funny.
And when my parents helped me move in, they were like, my dad was saying, "Oh, I'm very jealous. This apartment is too gorgeous." And sometime later, I will go on and on about other kinds of supports that I received in higher education. But
I'm so proud of you, by the way. Just proud of you.
But to focus on travel, it's like I found travel abroad programs that offer day trips, excursions, maybe within the country or out of the country. And I took advantage of those opportunities because every kind of travel experience you have is meant to be a once in a lifetime opportunity that you cannot waste.
Yeah.
And it connects to the phrase like this: you have to step out of your comfort zone. And if you need a break, you can be in your comfort zone for a bit, or maybe just sit down in a public space or two. But this is what you do. If you fill it, you earn it. If you waste it, you lose it. And the point is, you don't want to be sitting around your accommodation all day, because then you will lose all the good things that you could be doing. And if you're just going to go walk around like me, you want to do a bit of jaunting. And even if you're there for business, you want to try and see if you can put in some jaunting time, because you never know when you'll go back to those places again.
Yeah.
And
did you get support, like living support, when you were there as well with those programs?
Oh, absolutely. With every program, I had a little orientation where I learned about the culture, the currency, the commuting, other factors of how to live my best within the country of my choice. But outside of the normal living, the one thing I was most serious about was my academics, because I was fulfilling my credits, which would be sent to the institution. And even if it was a pass or a fail to the university I went to, I still had to pass my courses successfully. And with the hope to continue my education, I set my mind to getting good grades, and I did. And in Spain, my parents and I traveled around Madrid for 3 days, and then did a lot of touring in Barcelona. And then after I moved into the apartment, we met with the directors of the program in the office. We discussed my learning capabilities, met with my tutor, and the tutor that I had in all of my programs, well, except in one program, the resident assistant, or one of the leaders, was my mentor.
Oh, that's great.
The assistants, and actually what I call my abroad coach, my coaches are familiar with the education systems in the country. They have good interactions with the professors that I have, and they understand how they teach and what their workload could look like.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. You want to have a tutor who is very knowledgeable about your teachers, the education system, their styles, and what can be expected. Because that was the kind of tutor, and those were the kinds of tutors that I had. Just because I had an academic coach at pace plus extended time on exams, that does not guarantee that I will have the same kinds of learning accommodations when I was abroad. So, with that said, I had the academic coach. I had extended time for exams in a private room, and then I could take as much time as I needed. I would carry the accommodations that I have. Pace University, from the Counseling Center or the Office of Disability Services, would send my accommodations to study abroad, and study abroad would send them to the programs. So there was back and forth communication about it. And they were amazed, because it is advised for students with learning disabilities or learning accommodations to take opportunities to travel abroad. And since I haven't been there in so long, I'm sure they've made some great changes to support their students in fulfilling credits in places that would only happen once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And they were very helpful with that. So I cannot emphasize how those experiences towards my academics have done so much for me. And because of how I've improved my time management skills and getting around the city, nothing was to worry, but I still touch base with my parents and the staff about my progress, what's going on. and whatnot, and I communicated directly with everybody I was around. This is
Great.
something that is a big misconception, and there are times when I get very annoyed about it, but I have to learn to understand why it happens.
Flexibility, right?
Well, yeah, but flexibility, communication.
Yes.
If you want an autistic individual to understand how you feel, using polite gestures will not get it done. And if you are not comfortable with direct communication, then interacting with an autistic person will likely not go well, because they learn their best when you're communicating with them directly and clearly to the point.
Yes.
Even if it may not be their intention to constantly ask questions, they do it because they want to better understand what you mean. And
I agree with that.
And that's just the point that I'm trying to make. If you want me to know how you feel, communicate directly with me, and I will do my best to make sure that I support your needs. That's just plain simple and straightforward. And one of my biggest struggles is I have been around cultural practices where direct communication doesn't generally happen. And I got fed up when I couldn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And those things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Our parents were my greatest advocates for it. And eventually, to this day, I will have to start reading nonverbal cues that could mean the exact opposite.
That's tricky, huh? That is definitely. Reading human beings is not an easy task for any of us.
I
agree.
I cannot read between the lines.
Yeah.
Even if I am forced to do it a bit, there are times when I cannot.
Yeah. And I think that it's very fair for you to communicate your needs and boundaries that you need to have be direct, clearly, communicated with. And I completely agree with that. I think that my children are better accessed when I do that as well. I can be clear and direct with them, especially our son, who is less communicative. And so with him, it's definitely he has to know the exact steps to take. You can't just say like, go make your bed, go take the trash out, go it's like, okay, go into the bathroom, pick the clothes up off the floor, then go take them down, and have to give him really structured lists of ways to help and do things. But yeah, so I think that that's really great advice to give to, because some people forget that not only children struggle with autism, silly stigma out in the world, that, a 9-year-old boy isn't the same as an adult that needs real communication out in the world and skill sets and things. So yeah, viewers and listeners, please be aware of that, and start to, of course, if you're on my show, you're already getting great education about autism and how to communicate with the world and be a more compassionate and kinder human being to everyone. So before we finish up in the next 15 or so minutes, let's talk about the documentary that you're working on, Ben, and tell us a little bit about what that involves, and we'll go into that.
Sure. So the documentary that I'm currently developing is about the transition to adulthood for individuals on the autism spectrum. And it was inspired by David's journey, actually. I came up with the idea when David was in his final semester at Pace University and was getting ready to graduate. At this time, we had really, when I say we, I mean our family, had no idea what David was going to do next. Meanwhile, he had just completed, 3.5 or so years of what turned out to be a profoundly influential experience for him. Not only was David immersed in his favorite city in the world, he was succeeding academically. He studied abroad more times than anybody else I know. He studied abroad 5 times. He had been taking classes that inspired him in so many ways that were intellectually stimulating. He had built relationships not only with professors but with other students. He had a huge community of friends and a support network, and he was really thriving in this environment. He had a support system through Pace University called the Oasis program, which provided David with different coaches and counselors, and to help him balance his academic load. And they had a job and internship supervisor who helped support him in that arena as well. So, go ahead, David.
I just want to correct you a bit. It's a career / internship counselor.
Awesome. Thank you. And so David was in this incredibly nurturing environment, and that was all really about to end in a few months. So I thought essentially, and I was in between projects, trying to, about to leave a job that I wasn't feeling fulfilled by. And I thought this is a really important time in David's life, really just like on the precipice of adulthood. And it's worth filming. It's worth capturing the transition and all that happens next. And then I started asking more questions. What happens to autistic people when they get older? And then the more I began to research, the more I realized that David's experience alone didn't adequately reflect that of many autistic people. Not every autistic person is going to go to college in a city that's outside of their home state, is going to travel abroad as much as David has. And that's completely fine. But what is it like for somebody who is of another race or has another gender identity, who's from a different socioeconomic background, or, from a place of residence with less resources? And so the more I started digging into this, the more I realized that, the outcomes for autistic adults are really disparaging.
Yeah.
They're absurdly high rates of unemployment and underemployment. There's autistic people are being paid sub-minimum wages in certain states. And so the idea expanded from there and has become about, our goal is to follow different autistics who are in the midst of various transitions. Because there's not really one transition in adulthood, there are many.
Yeah.
So what is it like for an autistic person to navigate all this and to become adults? Because most of the media that I had encountered was predominantly about younger individuals. And also what I found problematic was a lot of the media was also told from the perspective of parents or caregivers. And that's, not to diminish their experiences or the validity of those experiences, but I was much more interested in what autistic people had, what the autistic voices had to say for themselves about that. And I've also, going on this journey has been remarkable in that respect, in that I've had the pleasure and honor of learning from various autistics who share their stories and are open about all that they've gone through and all that they hope for the future. And so I will say that it's extremely important for us that we present it predominantly from the autistic perspective. Mm-hmm. I am neurotypical. Our producer on the film is neurodivergent, but not autistic. Mm-hmm. And so we think it's essential that this adequately and authentically reflect the voices of autistic people. And we're sort of just the people kind of putting it together.
Yeah.
The vessel.
Exactly. I love it.
And we're planning to hire autistic people both in front of and behind the camera to ensure that we are not appropriating anybody's experience, that this is an authentic, not just authentic, but also an empowering portrayal of autistic individuals. I think that's important, because a lot of representation either goes into the line of autistics being incapable or focuses on what their deficits are. And also, or alternatively, only emphasizes those experiences that fall into the savant category, of super, people of particular expertise. And that's not to say that those experiences don't exist, but
that's not the whole one story. Yeah, that's not autism, right? Exactly.
I love
that.
So diversity in experience is essential, I think. And I think autistic people deserve that representation on screen, and deserve to see what's possible when somebody is, I want to say given, but it's not just given, but has an opportunity to thrive and pursue their passion, and are, perceived as capable and individuals who can contribute and live fulfilling lives. So that's what we really hope for in the documentary. And we're still in the development stage. It's pretty early on. And so right now we are meeting with virtually, I'll say, different autistics throughout the country, who have been so kind in sharing their experiences. And then when things become a little bit safer to go around the country and meet with so many people, given the pandemic, we will do so.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so incredible. And whatever I can do to help and be supportive of that, please let me know. I would love to just know that you guys have my support, and, whether it is coming back on and promoting it afterwards, or helping look for, I've talked to so many amazing people. If there's anyone you're interested in me, connecting with you, please let me know. And I'd love to do that. So it's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you guys both on today. And what a wonderful experience for our viewers and listeners to understand the amazing dynamic that happens between siblings. I see it every day, even though now we do know that both of our children are on the spectrum. They are definitely two unique, different individuals, with one little sister being the big sister of her big brother. So, and all of those same things, the protectiveness and the care, always being so concerned for him and his well-being every day. So it's just such an honor to have you both on here today. And I just send you both my love and appreciation and gratitude for being here. David, is there anything you have working on or anything that you want to share with us?
Not that I can think of, but what really excites me is my Facebook page, Venturing Incredible Abilities, David Sharif, is just, I believe, 15 likes away from 300.
Ooh, we'll get you there.
And it certainly is my goal to at least get to 300 before the end of the year. And there's definitely other content related to autism that I would like to share based on the groups that my platform is in. I haven't thought about this clearly, but because of all the podcast shows that I've been on, I'm kind of thinking about starting a podcast show for myself.
Yay!
Which it's completely free. There is no fee. I just have to think of a name. Unfortunately, I kind of don't have a microphone like what other podcast interviewers have. And hopefully I can accomplish that without a microphone, but it is going to take a lot of planning and thinking because of topics related to the subject of what I want to do. But again, I have thought about it. I haven't done anything yet, but I do think that it would be a good addition to the platform.
I love that.
And then I would be giving autistic individuals an opportunity to share their stories.
Yeah.
And hopefully that would lead to more likes. And then hopefully if I interview educators and professionals, then who knows? Because my dream job, my career job is to travel the world giving talks about autism, being a professional speaker, talking about autism in a variety of topics, whether it's virtual or in person, and being a part of Respectability on the National Disability Speakers Bureau Jewish Division. I do know that there will be opportunities for me to share my experiences, and I will be lucky to add those speaking engagements onto my page. So that's pretty much it. My Facebook page isn't necessarily meant to be a business. It's a page for autistic individuals to like where I can share content and then like share my journey. I haven't found a business or haven't done anything, but I think finding a podcast might be a bit easier than an actual real business that is very hard to maintain with contracts.
Well, that's wonderful. And if you do decide to do a podcast and you need any help or, questions, you reach out to me and I will coach you through the whole thing. I am happy to do that. I do it with all my friends now. So that's wonderful. And, I will make sure to have all of the information up on the screen. So everybody, when you see this video as it's edited, all of David's page information for Facebook, so you can go and get him past that 300 mark to get his goals met. I know that all of our listeners will definitely be willing to do that. We're so happy to have you guys here today. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, David. Before we leave, Ben, is there any social media or anything that you have you'd like to share?
Right now, well, I have my personal social media. I can, I'll send to you, Sarah, and you can add.
Perfect.
However, and then we haven't launched social media yet for the documentary, but we do have a website.
Great.
And I can also share that. I'm happy to share my email as well. Again, I thank you for your support tremendously and for the support of your podcast listeners. I'm more than happy to talk with anybody who has experiences to share. I'm here to listen. And I've found that listening and learning from autistics has actually helped me have a better informed perspective about how I interact with David and other autistic people as well in my life. So
I love that.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to have you guys here. Thank you, David. Thank you, Ben. And we will definitely be in touch and talk to you guys soon.
Mm-hmm.